tell me about the nature of the investment which you were just alluding to. We have such fantastic broadband connectivity now coming up. It's phenomenal. You can't recognize what's going on right now. And all these next generation communication technologies that we are seeing, 5G, they will bolster the sharing of online content. There will be ethical issues, but they will also significantly create a new version of a creator economy, where everybody is like a content creator. This will generate jobs. This will change the nature of marketing. This will change the number of revenue, revenue streams that are likely to open up. So now, give me a broad brush of this. Where do you see your role? Who are your principal competitors in India, if any? And what kind of job creation can this create, the 5G enabled economy?
I'll take that up in a few parts. Yes. One, I want to talk about creators, because if you think about it, and I was looking at other markets and other countries and the growth that they're seeing, what we're seeing on India is pretty amazing. We see almost, I think if you read this ZEFMO report that came out, 100 million people in the country identify themselves as digital creators. Right? And I recognize that we have, a consequential role to play, because many of them, are probably on our platforms, right? So a lot of the work that we're doing falls into a few buckets. One is around skilling. So how are we thinking about skilling and, teaching these people the tools that exist, how they can come on our platform, how they can build on our platform. So we have something called Born on Instagram, that we launched a year or two ago, which is, I think, I would wager a guess, is probably the world's largest creator program. We have almost 8 lakh people that have gone through that program. And you can talk numbers, but I'll give you an example. I was with Raj Shimani on a podcast. He told me that during COVID, he was at a crossroads and didn't know what he wanted to do. He's a famous podcaster. And he was a first cohort of Born on Instagram. And he said that gave him the confidence and the tools that he needed to set up his Instagram presence and then build a livelihood and, have a very successful podcast coming off of that. And that is the journey that we're seeing with Born on Instagram, which is tier 2, tier 3 cities, giving creators a voice. And hopefully someday they'll also be on your channel, working with you, Arnab. But that's one part that we're seeing. The second part that we're seeing is just, giving them not just Instagram. We launched Threads. We now have Facebook and WhatsApp broadcast channels. So giving them more tools to reach their followers, more platforms. That's the other bit where, we've made significant investments. The third is on Meta Verified, simple thing where you get the, you get the blue check mark, but you also get access to, support and all of that. One of the things that we did in India, which we don't do in too many markets, is we provided language support in Hindi, because we realized, for Meta Verified, it's not going to cut it if it's just English. Similarly, when we think about that lens on even what we're building, lastly, I would say on the creator side, we're giving them tools to keep themselves safe on the platform. Around, they can do a whole bunch of things where they can block unwanted solicitations, comments, all of that. So that's the investments that we're making on creators. I'll come to the second bit, which is, the work that we're doing on small businesses. Again, when I think about the country and where it's at, if you're talking about this relentless pace of growth, you need everyone to be digitally, aware, savvy, skilled, know the tools that we're putting out there. So we launched a partnership with Kate earlier this year. First we announced we'll train 1 million traders. Then we realized the demand and what we needed to do, the job that we needed to do was so big that we increased that number to 10 million traders over the next 3 years. We have a partnership with the Ministry of Education and Skilling where we said we'll train 1 million entrepreneurs on how they can use our platforms, because we recognize, Arnab, I'll give you a number, 60% of people on our platform on WhatsApp message a business, on every week. And that's the number that Mark shared during the earnings call. So we recognize that there is a lot of, people that are starting up a business or, supporting customer service, things like that that happen on our platform. Amitabh was here just a little while earlier. Even big businesses do that. He's disbursed around 1,000 crores of loans on WhatsApp. He talked about it. He adds 1 million customers on WhatsApp every month. So both for small businesses and large businesses, we want to make sure that the population is, as far as we can. And I know it's not enough. There's always more we can do. But provide them the tools and the skilling skilling that they need, and build products with an India first lens. So making sure, like we did with WhatsApp, we announced Flows, which was, again during the same September event, we announced, which will really benefit small businesses. And, if you think about it, you no longer need to spend a lakh setting up a web page. You can set up a free, catalog on WhatsApp almost instantly. So those are the two big areas. The last bit I'd like to talk about is the investments that we're making in AI. Again, I think India will play a big role to play. I think there were some stats that said 30% of all contributions to GitHub globally come from Indian developers. I think 20% of all AI talent is Indian today, right? So there is a leadership role we can play. And one of the things that we've done when we launched Llama 2, our first partner, when we did the initial launch globally was Geo. Since then, I've been doing roundtables and stuff. I've been really enthused by the enthusiasm of developers using Llama 2, which is open source. So we want to do more there. Even on the data sets that we're building, for example, casual conversations is a data sets that helps figure out accents and voice, languages and all of that. It includes, many hours of Indian voices, languages and all in that, which we've released to academia and researchers globally. So those are some ways in which I think we continue to invest in the country.
That's absolutely amazing. We were talking earlier to Mr. Hardeep Puri. Mr. Amitabh Kant was there, and I am of a view, as I'm sure you are, Sandhya, and everyone in India, is that we will be a superpower. We are getting into the 10 trillion clubs closer than we really imagine. So both of these things will happen around the same time, Sandhya. We'll cross 20% of our GDP being from the digital economy and cross 10 trillion. So I always say this, especially when there's a young audience, I always say this, Sandhya, the best is yet to come. So always say, imagine somebody who is born in India in 2000 and somebody therefore who's 22, 23 years old today. When that person will be 30 years old in 2030, we will be a 10 trillion economy.
Yeah.
With 20 to 25% of their GDP coming purely from the digital economy. We will be a very exciting economy, truly. I mean, it's going to be an incredible period for the young people here. 2030. And all of the young people who are the cell phone generation. We started using cell phones after getting out of college, This is the generation that is a cell phone generation. It's going to be magic. 2030 is going to be a magical year. And I have this aspiration that every second Indian business, every second Indian professional, every second Indian entrepreneur should have a global footprint. You have to do that. And that's what's going to open things up. That's the catalyst. Then what the Prime Minister says, we will be a developed country by 2047. Surely we will, maybe even earlier. Now my question there is, have you given it a thought, and maybe you will, and maybe something you're doing now may coalesce into that in the future? What about Meta investing in businesses to accelerate their integration into a global value chain?
Absolutely.
Is there a possibility for you?
So you talked about 2030. One of the stats that stood out for me is I think on the fintech side of the house, by 2030, 12 or 13% of the fintech economy is supposed to be 1.5 trillion. We'll be around 200 billion. So wherever you see, I think the leadership position is ours to take. And I see lots of like you said, young people in the room. It will be amazing to see all of them play a consequential role in making that happen. So coming to what we're doing, I think some of the investments that we're making in skilling is real, right? So even with CBSE, what we're doing now is, we're training 10 million students in the emerging technologies of tomorrow, right? We're great where we are, but with AI coming in, with MR, AR, VR, MR, how can we sort of make sure that our students are ready for what's going to be the technological advancements of the future? That's one place where we've committed, we're investing. And it's not just students, we're also training teachers. 1 million teachers as well, because so they are ready and they are not like, I don't know about you, Arnab, but every day I feel like I'm on a treadmill on technology, right? So I wonder how teachers feel. So that's another investment that we're making. On businesses and entrepreneurs specifically, we have a program that we did with METI around XROS, which is we funded around we had an accelerated for 120 startups where we gave them the know-how on building for XR. We have a 3 million grant. Again, we're doing more in this area where we built MR apps with the startup. So I don't know if it was there when you put up that video. IB Cricket is, a bunch of young, enthusiastic, startup founders from Hyderabad who are building a virtual reality cricket game. Now, as the VR headsets gets cheaper, as the form factor becomes more ubiquitous, think about what this does for an already our developer base is going to be the largest in the world. We want to help them build for the world and give them the tools and the training and the mentoring that is required to get there. So we've done those. We've invested, of course, we've invested in Geo, Unacademy, Misho. So I think we're along with skilling, along with accelerators, along with programs that we're doing with the government, a lot of public-private sector partnerships that we are a part of and will continue to be a part of. I think you'll see us as excited about the 2030 milestone as you are.
Yeah. So everybody, I'm sure that when you took on this job, you had this, this aha moment, like this is an opportunity to do something for your own country, right? So is there any experience in the last 1 year, more at a personal, possibly you can share at an anecdotal level, that makes you feel that this is the moment? We all have it in our different careers in different ways. Any particular moment for you professionally, personally in the last year?
I actually think it's not just one moment, it's many moments. I came back, I've been back home now after 17 years. And I think for all of you in the room today, I would say this, especially the ones who are just starting out their careers. I mean, there's really no better time to be in our country, right? Just the pace of change, the problems you can solve. I'll give you some examples where it sort of came home to me on the impact that each one of us can have, right? Bangalore Metro, when we launched tickets on WhatsApp, 5 lakh people every month, and this is an old number, so it's gone up, buy their tickets on WhatsApp every day. And, it's the fact that you're cutting queues, you're cutting lines, you're solving meaty problems. We did the same with Delhi Metro. We've been overwhelmed by the response that we've seen. So that is, a small example. 2, when I meet creators, I met somebody in Hyderabad. Her father was a driver in Kakinada, and she never thought that she would be at a place where she was inking brand partnerships and doing stuff on Instagram. So that's just, what I see every day on our platform, which gives me hope, right, around how India's youth is actually changing the game. They don't take the status quo for granted. They're finding new ways, they're learning skills, they're really like building, and they're part of the change of what we want to see in the country. And I think the government, you have to really sort of give it to the government for actually enabling the infrastructure, giving clarity around regulations, building DPI to actually enable this growth to continue. For me, at a personal level, I think it's just been, it's kind of a small thing, but every time I breeze through an airport with Digi Yatra, and then I get stuck in long immigration lines in the US, I can tell you, India is like come of age. There's time and again I see examples of where we're innovating, where we don't take status quo for granted. So.
That's absolutely fabulous.